I mean, being here 4 years, I've played in a lot of big games, so I think, it's always been the same. You just don't listen to it. You just keep within the team. The coaches do a really good job of that because we haven't even played our best yet. So, we obviously have to play better in a big game. So we have to focus on that and not so much what people are going to be talking about. So we're just going to handle our preparation like we do, every week.
How much have you thought about Saturday being your last game at Ohio Stadium?
I'm trying not to think about that because, obviously that's going to be emotional for me. I've really loved playing here. I've got to play in a lot of big games. I've had a lot of fun. Especially like the people that I've been around. That's probably been the best part. And it's my last shot at it. I'm never going to get to come back here and play. But I don't want to, focus on that too much because, like I said, that'll be emotional for me, and I don't want to, go into a game being like emotional. I want to be able to focus on winning the game, and then, afterwards I can be sad.
What are you going to miss most about the stadium?
It's just like home. Like that's what I'm going to miss about it. I've lived in Columbus for 4 years, and growing up I always wanted to play here, and that's our home stadium. That's just kind of like symbolizes like what this whole place is about. All those fans come in, they pack the house, and like I said, the biggest thing for me is the people that I got to play with, and, my friends, the coaches. There's just great people around here, and that just kind of symbolizes that for me.
And you don't want to be emotional, but how will your parents handle that?
Oh, my mom and dad are gonna be a mess, and that's what's gonna be tough for me is, I'm gonna go out there and when I chose to come back for my senior year, my dad, he was like, I want to be out there on the field for your senior day. So I know they're looking forward to it, but at the same time it's gonna be sad for them because I know they've loved watching me play. But that'll be the hardest part for me is seeing my parents because I know they're gonna be crying.
Taylor, the fourth-year seniors, you were the first class that were here for Urban Meyer and his staff all the way through, that you didn't have an adjustment from another coach or anything like that. What have you seen sort of maybe watching Urban Meyer and the staff grow and figure things out here at Ohio State as you guys have done it along with them? You know what I mean? That I'm sure maybe the relationship in 2012 is a little different than what it is now.
Obviously, with those coaches coming in initially, they didn't know a lot of the players that were going to be playing for them. They didn't recruit them. So, I don't think they necessarily expected a ton of loyalty from them, but they were able to establish a culture, and there were leaders from that group that bought into it. And, I think, that first season, those older guys buying into the culture and becoming leaders and kind of carrying the torch of what this program's supposed to be about, that's been everything to our success. Because, I come in as a younger guy and I see, these guys that played for Tressel and Fickle, but they're following the way Coach Meyer's doing it and they're buying into it and, they're enjoying it. Like, how could I not follow that, being, coming in as a freshman, not knowing what's going on? So I think, early on, I don't think they were expecting a ton of loyalty. There was obviously speed bumps, but, they were able to establish a culture that's just kind of permeated throughout the entire team. And then throughout the years, they've obviously been able to recruit the guys that they wanted and brought in their own guys. And, it's definitely been a process, and you can definitely see the change because the culture's been established and they don't have to be as cutthroat with everybody.
Hey Taylor, is it kind of crazy thinking back that 4 years ago, at one point you might have been going through Notre Dame senior day today, and just the idea that Ed Warner recruited you while he was at Notre Dame, and you just talked about the influx of new coaches and things, but that was the thing that gave you your chance and maybe made you the right fit to be here in this program to begin with. You kind of reflect a little bit about just what it was like going through it, being a Notre Dame commit, following Ed, and just kind of what you remember about the whole switch.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing when I switched my commitment, it wasn't necessarily, Coach Warner coming here because, I'd been talking to Coach Meyer before he even said that he had hired them. I wanted to come here. None of the coaches wanted me to come here. I wanted to, but they didn't want me to. So that was the thing with that, and just ironically enough, the people that I had the main contact with at Notre Dame were both hired here. It was Coach Henn was my recruiting coach, and Coach Werner's the position coach there. So it was just kind of like a perfect storm. And then, Coach Meyer said, just give me one day. Just come up here and visit one day, and if you don't like it, I'll leave you alone. Just tell me you don't like it, I'll leave you alone. I won't bother you. You can go to Notre Dame. So, obviously I had always wanted to come here, but for me, kind of maintaining that commitment was kind of a loyalty thing, because I'd said for 8 months that I was going to go to that school, but, at the end of the day, with that type of decision, you got to be selfish. So it's worked out pretty well for me.
That day.
Huh?
You didn't need that day that Urban Meyer was offering you.
No, I didn't, but I mean, you got to come up and visit Ohio State. Why not?
So how different
And
is this
ironically,
week?
Jim Bowman's now on the last team that you'll be playing in the horseshoe on the other sideline. What do you think about that?
I didn't even think about that. And, I mean, he didn't want me either, so hopefully we win.
How different does it feel How different does it feel this week, finally getting the big games?
I mean, these are the type of games you come here to play in, and I don't think we've necessarily been pushed to the limit. Really been tested. This will be a huge gauge for us going into the big games in the end of our season, because this is the biggest game we've played so far yet this season. So I think it'll be a good gauge. I think it'll be a test, for guys that have stepped into roles that haven't played in as big of games. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see where we're at.
And the pass protection was the issue against Illinois, and you guys have resolved to get that fixed. How big an issue is it? How easily correctable is it? How serious a problem is it?
So like I talked about it with Chase after the game, I think an issue with him is just his confidence. There's at times in practice he looks great. He's a really good athlete, and he's fast, but I just think sometimes he gets in the games and he overthinks it. I've talked to him, and he'll say, "Oh, I thought this was going to happen," but you don't have to overcomplicate it. Just block the guy. Do what you practice. Take your set, punch, and I know against Minnesota, Theron Cochran, he's a pretty good defensive end, and Chase did a pretty good job against him. And I think he wasn't overthinking it, but I think he has a bad play, early in the game, and it just kind of consumes him. But we can change up some things we do protection-wise. I don't want to say what we're going to do, obviously, because we haven't played the game yet. But I just think it's just a confidence thing.
When you watched the tape, I mean, I'm sure it was more than just Chase. Was there oh my God, I can't believe that happened?
I mean, kind of. I mean, they obviously were trying to cancel out all the inside gaps, because JT being a shorter quarterback, he doesn't throw over us. Cardell can throw over us, but JT, he needs his windows to throw to. I was talking to him the other day. He says he'll never even try to throw over us because he just can't see. And they were rushing their ends inside a lot, and we kind of knew that going into the game that they were going to do that because we'd seen that on film. But when you squeeze down and you cover up those guys, you let them push back on the quarterback's lap. And I think JT took a hit early in the game, and you get hit from the back, you're going to be kind of skittish the whole game. So I think early on we need to protect him, give him time, allow him to complete some throws, kind of get in the rhythm, and then I think we'll be fine.
What stands out about their defensive front? Obviously, Calhoun's.
I mean, they're obviously really athletic. Calhoun's, he's a big dude, but at the same time he has a good get off. He'll go inside, he'll go outside, he'll bull rush, he'll go with his hands. He'll pretty much do anything. And then I know they slid a 3 technique out to their other defensive end, so he's like 305 at defensive end, which we haven't seen a DN that big so far this year. Obviously not as quick of a guy, but big, powerful guy. And then McDowell, I think he's probably one of the best defensive tackles we'll see all year. Same thing. He's like a big, tall guy, but he looks really good on film. So top to bottom, I know I said when we were playing Penn State that was going to be the best D-line we played so far this year, and I think Michigan State, not to take anything away from Penn State, but is a step above them. And I think that's a big strength of their defense is their front seven.
Was there a moment, second half or in halftime or going into the second half, where the coaches or somebody turned to you guys and said, look, we're going to shove it down their throat. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run Zeke. Obviously that one drive, he had 7 carries out of 11 plays, 5 in a row and stuff. And does that stuff ever get said? And number 2, what did it feel like to just go down the field, push come to shove, y'all leaned on you guys and Zeke, and y'all got it done? What does that do, I guess, for an offense? And what does it tell you about Zeke from a toughness standpoint, et cetera?
One, we are, like, the line every game, I ask Coach Warner if we can do that.
Yeah.
Because when you see the drives where we go straight down the field, it's just, tight zone, A-gap power, stuff like that. It's really basic plays, but it's what we're good at. And we're calling for that along with tempo all the time. So I think the drive you're talking about, we just ran tight zone with tempo, and it works great. Because even if they know we're going to do it, I feel like we have good enough players that we can just kind of assert our will and do what we want to. And then Zeke, obviously.
Yeah, you've got to have a tough running back though to do that, right?
He can do it all. He can put the pads down, knock people over. He can run around them. He can juke them. He can do it all. And he's just a tough kid. He's not going to come out of the game, and it's not a selfish thing, but we need him to run the ball to win.
Tony Alford said today, I think, I may be misquoting him a little bit, but he might be the best player in the country or best running back in the country. Do you see, when you watch Zeke, do you see that level of player?
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And why? Why?
I just think, like I said before, he's just incredibly complete. He's really fast. He's strong, so he can run people over, and he's got great agility. He can cut, and he makes great cuts. I think we've seen him do all those things, throughout his career here. And last year he didn't so much get to catch it out of the backfield because of the wrist thing. But now he's catching more passes out of the backfield, and he's shown that he's capable there. But I think that the huge thing that separates him more than anybody is the way he plays without the ball in his hands. Him with the ball in his hands and not in his hands is the exact same. He's going full speed 100%, and nobody wants to take a hit from him. There's times on film where you'll literally see people just run away, because there's some devastating blocks. So I without a doubt would agree with that.
Taylor, as an offensive lineman,
he was assigned.
Go ahead. As an offensive lineman, can you kind of appreciate what Bosa is dealing with when he's got 2 and 3 guys, trying to take him on, and just the challenge that he faces?
Can I appreciate that?
Yeah, like just knowing what he's facing, being an offensive lineman and what it's like when y'all double team someone.
I don't know if I can appreciate that because I'm always, it's just like one-on-one. So, I feel for him. I feel for him because, I wouldn't want to have to go against 3 people. And I've never been asked to do that. But there was actually a play on film Coach showed where they had a tight end tackle and a running back block him. And at the end of the play, he was still in on the tackle. His stats don't necessarily reflect as well as they did last year, but I think he's a better player than he was last year. And they're asking him to kind of be selfless and do some things for the defense that don't necessarily get him the stats, and he's okay with that because at the end of the day, you watch the film, he's affecting the game. He's probably been one of the defensive players of the game every single game. And the fact that they have to take 3 guys to block 1, then they're 8 on 10 for the rest of the defense. And I don't know about you guys, but I think we got some good players on the rest of our defense too.
Taylor, Ezekiel Elliott was assigned your guys' workout group so that he could absorb the offensive line culture.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a process? Did you have to break him in a little bit?
I think going into the off season early. He'd obviously got a lot of media attention and things like that. And it's not like it consumed him. He wasn't really an issue at all. But you could tell that he obviously got a ton of attention. And I think Coach Mick kind of wanted to put him with us because we just kind of have a blue collar attitude and work ethic. And linemen just because we're bigger guys, we're gonna like the weight room because you're strong. And he put him with us because him lifting with us is going to be different than him lifting with, another running back or some receivers or something like that or linebackers. And I don't think he was ever going to quit on us, especially because we have a good relationship with him and just like I said, we're stronger. So, but even with that being said, we're still going to hold him to the same level of, whatever we're doing. But I could never run with him though. So.
Plus, you apparently guys taught him some blocking techniques, huh?
I didn't really teach him any blocking techniques. I mean, he's just always been that way. But he should have been a lineman.
With his ascent into the, with his climb now this year into the record books, I mean, have you noticed kind of a different level of intensity? And what's it been like to block for him on his way, moving up, possibly even into second place when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a million times. Zeke's always been the same guy. Nothing's ever changed with him. Since day one he came in here, his first play carrying the ball, you just thought, whoa, this kid's going to be somebody. So, people always ask, what has changed with him? What has changed with him? Like, nothing. He's always been the same guy. So, he deserves to be up there in the record books.
Does that change your guys' maybe offensive mindset as an offensive line, though? I mean, to want to maybe get out there, hit a little bit harder, block a little bit more. I mean, I know that may sound a little stupid, but
no, not really. I mean, I know it.
Does
I think it'd probably be cooler for a story if I said yeah, but it just doesn't.
No added incentive for you guys. It's just.
I mean, I want him to do well, but I've always wanted him to do well, and I've always wanted to go knock people out. And that's football. All the records and everything. That just comes with how we do things, and just hasn't changed.
Taylor, with what you were talking about earlier with the tempo that you would like to run and the run plays that are effective,
Yeah.
or always asking to do.
Yeah.
If you feel like that works when you do that, right?
Mhm.
Why could you do that all the time?
Running the ball, yeah. Tempo, get a little tired.
There's a limit to that.
I mean, you run 5 or 6 tempo plays where you're getting up, lining up as fast as you can. Like, you're just gonna get tired, and the running back's gonna get tired. So I think you got to do it in spurts to kind of catch them off guard. I think you can run your offense fast, but the way we do up tempo, right when the official calls it live for play, we're snapping it. And a lot of times the defenses aren't even ready, and they just have to go to a base vanilla defense. But you can't do it all the time, because one, we're gonna have to throw some passes here and there, and other things along that nature, and we just don't have every play in our offense schemed or signaled for an up tempo. So I think it's a thing you use in spurts just to change up.
And last year, we know how well you guys played in the playoff. But the game at Michigan State last year, how much was that a launching point? How much was that maybe as well as you guys played? Like, I know Pat was saying you were watching some film of that. When you think about the Michigan State game last year, is that something to aspire to play the way you guys played against them last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did. That is one of the better games we played last year for sure. And I think we were just so determined to just show how good we were, on the field, we showed that product, and I think it was kind of a launching pad for us and nationally, and everybody was like, okay, now these guys are for real, because that team's good. They've always been good recently, so it's just going to be a good gauge for us. And I think if we perform well, it'll kind of show everybody that we're for real, because obviously people question how good we really are. So it's going to be exciting, and I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see how good we really are.
Are you surprised to be sitting here, 30-game intra-conference win streak, 23-game win streak, and longest in the nation, and that people are questioning how good y'all are? I mean,
yeah.
And is that legit that they should be questioning a little bit? Because have y'all played, take the Rutgers game out of it, have y'all had that game, in your opinion?
No, I don't think we've played our best, but we win.
Yeah.
People were talking, take Utah for example. They were people had them saying they were going to be the number 1 team in the country, and they were playing great. They were playing great, but they lost. They've lost games, and we haven't lost a game. I think you win by 1, you win by 100, you still win. You just have to be the best team in the stadium that day. You don't have to be the best team in the country every day, and you know, we haven't been the best team in the country every day, and we haven't played our best, but you know, we win. You know, there's other teams across the country, you know, they're not blowing everybody out, but I think our best football is yet to be played.
What's it feel like when